Osgood Perkins has delivered 3 movies in 2 years, with his most recent entry being the folk horror Keeper. Does this deliver effective spooky vibes or dark comedy, or is Perkins rushing through his storytelling in order to keep his name in the zeitgeist? A romantic anniversary trip to a secluded cabin turns sinister when a dark presence reveals itself, forcing a couple to confront the property's haunting past. This is a fairly small cast starring Tatiana Maslany and Russ Sutherland in the lead roles, with several other actors serving as unknown creepy visages. This movie is beautifully atmospheric. The cinematography is stunning, and it created something I never wanted to tear my eyes away from. And it didn't matter if we were being shown a lush and vibrant forest, a sparse wood cabin, or some vague horrific imagery. All of it demands our attention. And so many times our subjects are filmed in this intrusively intimate manner, getting in way too close so that there is zero personal space, while also maintaining an unsettling symmetry with the subject and the frame. This encroachment the camera delivers works to unsettle us by showing us all of the torment, fear, trepidation, maybe uncertainty that a character is experiencing in a way that we can't escape. And to complement these shots even further, many times the depth of focus is just so shallow that the actor feels separated from the surroundings, isolating them in loneliness so they become vulnerable to anything freaky. I also love the visual aesthetic that the background takes on. A few of the times, the imagery appears as though it's been captured mid-spin, like there's movement to the background even though it's not actively spinning. The effect, it's discombobulating, but also wonderfully executed. There's also the use of overlapping visuals, which can be difficult to enjoy at times. The images blend together, making it challenging to discern what it is we're actually seeing. Other times, this creativity brings about a sense of movement and motion to an otherwise static scene, creating a dreamlike sensation, maybe a hallucination. Either way, though, it's hypnotic and imaginative. Now, the camera work also has a patience to it that borrows from 70s horror, where the frame is slowly but consistently zooming in. And while this does work to make us think that we should be focusing in on something, this was used so frequently that it lost any creative edge and just became the style. By itself, it's nothing to criticize. But the end result here was that I stopped trying to see something in the frame and just became less invested in what the camera was possibly moving towards. The settings also allow for the beauty shots, taking place in a mountain cabin that sits directly next to a flowing stream. And when coupled with all of the dense forestry, there's a great sense of life that's present, continued sustenance just for everything around, which then does play into the core story to a degree. Now, right from the start of this, there is an ominous and uneasy tone to the story. It's undefined for a while, just allowing us to become entrenched in this discomfort, knowing something's a bit wonky, but not knowing exactly what. Tatiana Maslany is wonderful in this. Her character is also frustrating because she consistently dismisses any of her internal qualms, choosing to acquiesce for the sake of peace in a conversation or maybe an interaction. And her dynamic with Russ Sutherland, it's strange. We could tell something's odd immediately when we're introduced to the pair. And it's not like one character is demonstratively evil. There's just this caginess to the performances that informs us something's not quite on the level. I think this is also a bit of a weakness within the story. At no point in the plot did I feel conflicted about a particular character. They're written to be mysterious and awkward, but what ends up being delivered is just blatantly sketchy. This then removes the intrigue and replaces it with the anticipation of what's to come. And that's not necessarily a terrible outcome from the story, but it does then create a bit of restlessness as we wait for the shoe to drop. As the story progresses, we're treated to a lot of subtle, shadowy visuals that are effective in producing some chills. What we see, if anything, is undefined in shape and substance, this shifting form that progresses along walls or ceilings. Now, I loved this effect because it was very clear that the audience in my theater didn't all see the images at the same time, creating various responses and exclamations. But the freak factor, it isn't limited to shapeless vapors. We're treated to some horrifying things that have an unsettled presence. These are used sparingly until the climax of the movie, and then we're able to see clearly all the things that may have been going bump in the night. This film has left me in a conundrum. There's an immense amount of foreboding atmosphere, spectacularly beautiful cinematography, eerie and ghoulish visuals, and then performances that are engaging, vulnerable, and emotionally manipulative. Even the premise of the horror leans into disturbing ideas that play with the themes of rebirth, life, and renewal. But what doesn't click is the why. I found myself left with a few too many integral questions about how and why certain motives were carried out. And don't get me wrong, I'm not looking to be spoon-fed some solution. I love to work for deeper meanings. But with this one, I don't feel as though we're given the clues to make deductions. Instead, we're just left to make assumptions that are based on things that we're not shown or told. There's a difference when I leave a movie and I'm haunted by all of the messages that are contained within that story, especially those that I have to chew on for a while to just fully digest the significance. When this happens, I want to immediately revisit the film and the story to just unlock more of the clues that were given in the hopes of gaining some sort of clarity or maybe correction. I could be right in my interpretation. I might be wrong too. But because evidence is scattered throughout, even if it's sparse and vague, I can then work to decipher what the story contains. I think of films like Hereditary or Little Bites, where there's both surface level context and then the nuanced intentions that are more hidden. For Keeper, the clues aren't present. I still want to dive into the movie again just to see if there's something I missed, but I don't feel as though the storyline is stuck in my head and in need of dissecting, simply just because key elements aren't provided, no matter how small. Overall, I'm mixed about Keeper. It's a beautiful and unsettling presentation with a superb performance from Tatiana Maslany. Through captivating cinematography and sinister behaviors, the story weaves an intriguing folk horror that's heavy on imagery, but unfortunately light on context, proving that beauty and tone aren't solely enough to build a haunting and disturbing tale. There's no sex or nudity, some profanity, and some violence. I give Keeper 2.5 out of 5 couches. So what are some films that you're looking forward to for the rest of the year? Let me know what's topping your list in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.